Hello, welcome. This is Dr. Kamani. Welcome to Manifesting Healing Monday. Welcome. We are going to have a very lively conversation today. I want to thank you again for taking the time to tune in today. Again, my name is Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I see people are starting to join in. And welcome to my channel, Lifting as We Climb Consulting, Wellness Services, where we focus on supporting individual and collective healing. So in what ways do we manifest healing? And so many of you are aware that I've been doing a series focusing on supporting Black women in toxic work environments. And so we are having continued conversations about this topic, as we know that Black women, unfortunately, we have higher rates of experiencing toxic work environments in the form of workplace bullying or other stressful events. So it's important for us to have a voice to talk about these issues, because many times we are suffering in silence and we don't think that that other people are having a similar experience. But unfortunately, many of us have had experiences of being in a toxic work environment. And so it's important that we know that we're not alone. And it's also very important that we speak up and we speak out about these experiences, because we know that silencing is a form of oppression. So we are providing a platform to be able to talk about these issues. And we also recognize that to be able to talk about our experiences, to feel validated in these experiences, are key to healing. And so we really want to focus on in what ways are we supporting our own healing as well as the healing of others. So, I'm inviting other Black women to serve as guests, so that they can share their experiences, so the audience can see how many Black women have been impacted by toxic work environments. And my hope is that you are inspired by their stories in terms of their resilience. If you might be able to see some similar types of experiences that you may have with people, but also that you are able to recognize and maybe reflect on maybe their ways of healing may inform some options that maybe you didn't think about before. So that is my hope, that you're able to do that. And also, I mentioned before in my previous videos where I talked about the stages of grief related to leaving a toxic work environment. And, when I talk about that, sometimes it feels very surprising to have a grief response at all about leaving a toxic work environment. But it's a very normal reaction. And it's very important to acknowledge that, because when we don't acknowledge it, what happens is that all that residual stuff from the other toxic place, we take to a new workplace or a new work environment. So we want to be able to process what we've gone through, so that when we go to more conducive professional environments that really respect us and validate us and really affirm our worth and really promote our growth, that we are not taking that with us. So the stages of grief, acknowledging that is important, and also recognizing that we might go back and forth in relation to the different stages of grief. Okay. So, we're waiting for our guest at this point. And I know that she joined earlier, so I'm going to see if I can try to add her in. And, let's see. Okay. I accidentally posted something. I did not mean to do that. So Rosanna, if you're listening, if you can press the icon where it says to join in. So our guest is Rosanna Rowles, and she is a retired school social worker. And I know that we talked earlier in terms of getting online, and we know that with technical issues, sometimes things can come up. So I'm just going to try to see if I can maybe. Okay. So Rosanna, I'm clicking the icon to invite you. And if you don't see it, maybe if you can disconnect and press the live again to see if you can connect. Okay. So let's see. Okay, so I see you now. Okay, let me go back. And I want to thank the audience for your patience as we are trying to work this out. Okay, let's see. Let me go back. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Okay. So let's see if I can add Rosanna. Okay. Okay. So maybe while we're waiting to add in Rosanna, if you have any questions that you might want us to address. Oh, Rosanna? Hi, it's Rosanna. Hey, Rosanna. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see myself, so that's okay.
Okay. I'm so happy to see you, Rosanna.
Can you see me?
Yes, I see you. Can you see me?
Yes, I do.
Okay, awesome. Did I lose you, Rosanna? Rosanna, did I lose you? Let's see. Let me try to invite her back in. And all of us who are, I know that this has been a challenge for me in terms of Instagram and getting things figured out. So bear with us, and we are adding her in. Let's see. Rosanna, when you get the chance, if you can click the icon again to join. Okay, let's see. Okay. And let's see. Rosanna? Okay, I see more people joining in. So in relation to the other videos that I talked about, they are accessible on YouTube. So my YouTube channel is Lifting as We Climb Consulting Wellness Services. So please feel free to look at the previous videos and share them, with other people, and subscribe and like, in terms of so that I know in terms of what really resonates with people. And if you can, in addition to subscribing to the channel, if you can also turn the notification bell, as that will alert you when I uplift or I put additional videos on the YouTube channel. So let me see. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect and go live again because I am not sure if Rosanna is having some difficulties with joining. So I'm not sure. So what I'll do is, okay, wait. Okay, here she is. Rosanna? I just added you in, Rosanna.
And let me now.
Yes, yes. Can you see me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So thank you for joining us, Rosanna. And I just want to tell the audience that I'm going to be very transparent. Rosanna and I do know each other. We've known each other for a number of years. We have worked for the same employer. She is currently retired and I have taken a leave. So I do want to put that out there to the audience so that we are just very transparent in terms of that we do have a history together. Okay. So some of the same people that have caused us harm are similar people. Okay. So I want to just say thank you, Rosanna, so much for being here. And actually, I'm going to call this episode Still I Rise because you have been so inspirational to me over the years in terms of seeing your resilience and how you have been able to heal from so much toxicity that has come your way. And so I think I told you before, I have your retirement pin. I always keep this in my purse. Still I rise. So I want us to remember that as Black women, that we go through a lot, but that doesn't mean that we are knocked down. Does not mean that we're our victims, right? We are victors because we're able to stand up and rise up. But I think what we're talking about too is that we have to take a moment to heal when we've been knocked down, but knowing that we will rise up. Okay. So I have the queen of Rise Up today. So I want to turn it over to you, Rosanna, if you could just briefly introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Rosanna Rowles. I received my Master's of Social Work degree from the University of Missouri, Columbia. I attained my license in clinical social work in 1988. My first job out of graduate school was Director of Social Services at a residential school. I went on to the VA to become a medical social worker and a program coordinator with West LA VA Medical Center. And I spent 23 years in public education as a clinician and a mental health administrator. I retired in 2011 and came out of retirement and went to USC as a clinical associate professor for 7 years and retired again. And hopefully I'm fully retired. So
I'm pretty sure you are. I'm pretty sure you are. So I want to say also, just to let the audience know that because we have a shared history, that, coming into this live today was challenging for both of us because it's bringing up a lot of different things. And so I just want to just say again, thank you, Rosanna, for being present and being able to share your story in the hopes that it can help the healing of other Black women. Okay, so we're going to kind of dive right into it. So if you can
okay.
share with the audience about a toxic work experience you had in the sense of what happened in terms of how were you able to identify that this is toxic?
Well, it was pretty obvious because it had to do with a promotional situation where we were looking at the qualifications of myself and another individual, and kind of midstream in the application process, things started to go awry. And once they went awry, I became under attack and felt like I was being uh, a person with character assassination after having been um, a stellar employee, a great administrator, and
Mhm.
a definite teacher.
Yes, yes, yes. So as you're trying to elevate, right, you feel like you were being pushed down and it was a character assassination on you, which is so ironic because we're in mental health, right? And so mental health focuses on wellness and supporting other people and trauma informed care. But what you're saying is that you were actually being traumatized by the same system that you were working in to provide trauma informed
Right.
care.
And that,
Yes.
that was extremely hurtful because the expectation is that individuals in our field are empathic and um, have communication skills that allow them to resolve conflict in a way that people aren't necessarily hurt or betrayed or
Yes.
devalued.
Yes, yes, yes. And that's part of what I talked about before in relation to the grief process. Because when these things like this happen, sometimes it really throws us off because I know you, Rosanna, I know that you put everything into your work, right? And that you gave so much of yourself. And it's kind of like, wait a minute, this is not the payoff that I expect, that I've given so much and this is happening to me. And the betrayal, which is very, very hurtful.
Right, right.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
it kind of takes you by surprise, particularly when you feel like you had a good, solid, professional relationship with the people involved, that you
Yeah,
were loyal to, you expected loyalty back.
yeah.
And that did not happen. So there was definitely a grief process. And even to this day, there can be things that kind of trigger my thoughts, about
Mm-hmm.
what I went, and I can grieve again, but I'm a lot healthier, so I get through that process without having to, lose my joy.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm so happy you said that, right? So the sense of recognizing that grief doesn't just go over, it doesn't just finish after a certain time. There might be times that we're triggered, and it's okay to acknowledge that we're triggered and we work through it. But you know what? It's not going to steal your joy, because being in that toxic work environment did steal your joy, but you have found it, you've reconnected to it. So can you share with the audience, Rosanna, um, what were some of the signs that you recognized that it was having a negative impact on you in terms of being in that toxic work environment? Because again, it's important for other Black women to hear what the signs are, because they may be experiencing it and not make a connection to, wow, this is because of the toxic work environment.
Not being included in certain meetings, not being interacted with in the fashion that I had become accustomed to. Um, just obvious kind of tension and aftermath of the process. And then, like I said, the process seemed to shift um, mid application, and it was
Right.
very obvious. And um, my situation, they weren't subtle um, hints or episodes. They were very obvious.
Oh, right. So it's kind of like that feeling of like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Like the rug is pulled from underneath you. And in terms of
Right.
that level of disrespect, so you were, a very much part of the system, and then the system turns against you. And so that's something we talked about too in these series, is that, a lot of times with these toxic work environments, it's the system. It's a few people that we can identify, but the system often protects the system. Okay. So, Rosanna, what was the point that you realized that, you know what, this is taking too much of a toll on me? I need to be out. How did you even come to that point that you realized it was causing too much harm for you?
Well, the situation got so bad that there were mornings that I would actually weep in my car all the way to work and then straighten myself up and do my job, because I take a lot of pride in having a good working relationship with my employees, also in producing quality work. And then, I had some of the classic characteristics of depression, panic
Mm,
attack, and I had to actually seek professional help and go on
mm-hmm,
medication. And I know that our
mm,
community sometimes frowns upon that, but I want to
mm-hmm,
go here to saying that when you encounter situations that are beyond your ability to manage, there's nothing
mm-hmm.
wrong with seeking help, and I encourage people to do so.
Yes. And I think the more of us that come out and talk about that, I think that that reduces or breaks that stigma. Okay. So if you can share also in terms of your healing journey, Rosanna, like what kind of things did you do, or what did help support your own healing journey?
I was blessed to have a spouse and two daughters who are mental health professionals that really supported me and gave me sound guidance and direction. I leaned on the wisdom of my mother, who had fought the battle of racial discrimination and won. I had a very supportive family. I come from a family of 8, so all of my siblings were very supportive. I used meditation. I used clinical skills that I taught others for myself, such as positive
Yeah.
self talk, redefining and redirecting my thoughts. I also I also leaned on my spiritual foundation, and I used to
Mm-hmm.
recite two verses all the time, particularly when I got really down. And
Hmm.
they are, "Weep endureth for the night, but unspeakable joy cometh in the morning." And also, "Weapons formed against me would not prosper." And so that
Yes.
they gave me the strength. There was a light at the end of the tunnel, that there was a
Yes.
brighter side down the road.
Yes, yes, yes. So, in terms of having those thoughts that are common when we feel when we're in trauma and we're being attacked and maligned, that feeling of like feeling closed in, but what you were able to see is that you were able to see choice and you were able to see through it, which is so helpful in terms of us
Right,
not feeling stuck. Yes, 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 yes. And you had a
right.
family of support around you, and so you were uplifted. So I'm wondering also, because this issue comes up a lot in terms of for Black women, because we are always taught to work hard and do your best and don't let people see you're struggling and you stick it out. And if somebody's trying to run you out of a job environment, you stay there, right? You don't let them do that. So, what words would you say to people in terms of what was that like for you in terms of trying to stick it out, right? And then we're going to talk about also when is it not worth it?
Well, it was very difficult for me because I was certainly one of those individuals coming from an African American community. I saw what my ancestors went through, and I thought, this is nothing. I can do this, and I don't want to
Hmm.
give another person of the doubt of running me out of a position that I've worked very hard for, that I put a lot of
Hmm.
blood, sweat, and energy in, that I felt like I
Hmm.
was very successful in. I had made some extremely good professional connections. I really valued my employees because I had a large pool of employees. And, but it gets to a point where if you see that you're sinking or you feel like you're in a quagmire and you just can't function, I mean, literally
Yes.
can't function. One of the things I had to do was take some time off periodically to regroup
Hmm.
and refresh and come back and fight the battle again. And I
Yes.
also think that when it comes to those situations, when it becomes so toxic and so hostile, it's also important to seek legal advice. And particularly if you feel like agency policies and EEOC regulations are being violated. And that's
Hmm.
not easy to do, because if you do
Right.
that, then you may have retaliation or harassment. But the bottom
Right.
line is, you just have to have your support system in place and do
Hmm.
what you must to keep yourself as healthy as possible so that you
Hmm.
can the battle. And I think we have
Yes.
an obligation, responsibility to do that.
Yes, yes, yes. So obligation responsibility not only to ourselves, but also to our ancestors, because they fought so hard for us to be here, to be able to get these jobs. And we work so hard to get these jobs. So that's why it's so challenging for us when we experience these toxic experiences, because we fought to be here and recognizing, you know what, even though I fought to be here, I'm going to take a moment, pause, regroup, fight some more. But then when I recognize that this is taking a toll on me, I'm going to need to leave. Okay. And I think part of the honor to our ancestors is that we have choice in saying, no,
Right,
no more. We're going to look at other options. They did not. And so I think it's giving
right,
honor to them also and saying to ourselves that we deserve better. None of us deserves to be mistreated, particularly in a job place, right? A work environment.
right.
That should not be happening. So I'm wondering, Rosanna, what words of wisdom can you give to other Black women who may be in a similar type of situation?
I think it's real important to, well, throughout your career, to have mentors, professional mentors, to really lean on your mentors for guidance and direction, to lean on the family support that you have, to understand that it's not about you, it's not your fault, to not devalue yourself simply because someone else is seeing you through a different lens. Keep your confidence as much as you can. Know
Mm-hmm.
that it's not wrong to fight for what's right, and that you
Yes.
actually feel like empowered, that you're able to do something more than just roll over. And
Yeah.
and you just have to keep the faith. Most of all, keep the
Mm-hmm.
faith, not only spiritual foundation, but also the faith in yourself, knowing who you are and knowing that
Mm-hmm.
you're not how decided to define you.
Yes, that is so key. Knowing your worth, knowing who you are. Because a lot of times when we're in these toxic work environments, people are devaluing our worth and they're treating us in a way that we're not, that's not who we are, right? And so I keep telling people that that's an example of projected incompetence. So people are projecting their own incompetence on you and then expecting you to kind of take it in. But on some level, if you know your worth, you're not going to accept that because that's just, it's nonsense. And so when we know our worth, that's so important in terms of that buffer to all that toxicity, and also recognizing that we don't have to accept this. And then the third level, which is kind of challenging for people sometimes, and for me too, is that when people engage in this type of toxic behavior, that they are deeply unhappy about themselves, that they are really in misery themselves. And so in some ways using like that trauma informed lens with them, like what happened to this person that they would treat other people like that. So understanding it, but also not accepting it, not accepting that, okay, well, if something's wrong with them, I should accept it. No, 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 no. Still not accept it, but understand that it's not a reflection of you. It's that other person.
Right. And I think Angela Davis says it best when she says, I will no longer accept the things I cannot change. I will change the things I cannot accept. And I
Exactly.
mantra to keep me going as well. And again, I think it all goes back to the way I was raised, is that I have an obligation not only to myself, but to my community, to the next generation that's coming along, serving as a role model for those who are there, to let them know that there are things that you can do. You have within your power certain tools you can use to negotiate and navigate situations.
Yes, yes, yes. And Rosanna, I just want to let you know that your legacy, in terms of what you built, is so strong that you are not forgotten. People remember you, people value you, people uplift you. And so we all appreciate all that you've done. And so I'm wondering if you could share just a little bit as we wind down, what is currently your life, right? So we talked about reconnecting to your joy. So in what ways are you currently reconnected to your joy in terms of your healing as well?
Yeah, and one other thing I want to mention too, in terms of my healing, is that I actually had a formal retirement after all that happened, and I was validated and rewarded by my employees, by my colleagues, by my friends and my families, because over 80 plus people attended that, and they validated who I am and who I was, and they showed their
Mm-hmm.
appreciation for all that I had done. And so I think
Yes,
that that's real important too, that at the end of a very tumultuous um, situation, there needs to be rituals that you go through to refurbish and regroup and um, enhance yourself and help with your resiliency.
yes. And to
But in terms
remind
of,
you, yeah, I
go
was going to
ahead.
say to remind you how much you are celebrated and loved, even though other people tried to project that negativity on you, there was so much other love around you to buffer that negativity.
Right. And then going to USC was really a blessing because I went into an environment where I was appreciated, where I was validated, where I was acknowledged, where people valued my contributions, and where I did very well. And so that also reinforced my self esteem and my it restored my belief in myself and my abilities.
Mm. Yes, yes, yes. So you were able to retire. You received the support. This is the retirement pin I got from going to her retirement party, right? And so you were able to transition to another environment where you were affirmed. And then you were able to just say, you know what? I just want to retire. I just want to live my best life
Right,
right now. Yes, yes.
right.
Can you just share with the audience some of the things that you have been up to and that you're about to be up to as we aspire to be more like you?
Well, I've been able to spend a great deal of time with my daughters, with my grandchildren, and I value that time. I treasure that time, and I try to, be a role model for them. My mother always said the best revenge is living well, and so I try
That's
to live
right.
well. Been traveling. I maintain my close associations and friendships with those individuals that support me through my journey. And I continue to lean on my spiritual foundation to keep me grounded.
Yes, 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 yes. So as we're closing, I just want to say again to remind the audience that Rosanna Rowles, she is an example, a highlight of what it means still I rise. And so we have to remind ourselves that when we get knocked down, we will get back up, okay? And that, yeah, we can say these things happen to us. We should never be silenced about it, right? And to find our different
Right.
support networks. You also talked about the importance of therapy if we need it, or, medication or whatever we might need to get that support. And it is okay. Don't feel like you have to broadcast and tell everybody, because some people are not going to understand and they may not support it. But if you know you need it, then that's what you need to do. Okay. So that's so important. And all the different resources you talked about. And I just, I have my little tissue, Rosanna. I was concerned I was going to start crying. So I have my little tissue waiting, because I've been a part of your journey on the outside, right? So I just appreciate that you've been able to come and share your journey with so many other people, because I know that it can be healing, to share your story. And we know the power of testimony and how powerful that is, not only for us, but for other people. So I want to share with the audience also that we will continue these conversations. I'm encouraged by Rosanna to keep having these conversations with other Black women who have gone through toxic work environments and are healing, right? So I don't want anybody to feel that this happened to you and that's it, right? Healing is possible. I also want to let you know about different resources that are available. I've had a career coach on before. I also have a job coaching program for Black women. So we do have options in terms of healing and pivoting to environments that affirm our worth. So again, Rosanna, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And to the audience, I want to say again, thank you for tuning in. This video will be uploaded onto the YouTube channel, Lifting As We Climb Consulting Wellness Services. Please tune in for next Monday as I have another guest as we talk about the healing journey. And remember that we are victors, we are not victims, and we will continue to rise. Okay? So again, thank you, Rosanna, and thank you, audience, for tuning in. And I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thanks for having
Bye-bye.
me. Bye bye.
Of course.